Being here in DC or, New York, San Francisco, that kind of thing, 5G is great for high density situations, but it's actually not great for the countryside. For rural areas, it's not great. You need range, and so any kind of sparse environment, 5G is really not well suited. But it's great for city dense city situations. So Starlink will effectively serve the 3 or 4% hardest to reach customers for telcos, or people who simply have no connectivity right now, or the connectivity is really bad. So I think it will be actually helpful and take a significant load off the traditional telcos.
And I was going to ask you what
well, it will be it should be a good experience because it'll be very low latency. And we're targeting latency below 20 milliseconds. So somebody could play a fast response video game at a competitive level.
Right.
Like that's the threshold for the latency. So then, and bandwidth. Bandwidth is a very complex question. But let's just say somebody will be able to watch high-def movies, play video games, and do all the things they want to do without noticing speed.
Right.
And then the challenge for anything that is space-based is that the size of the cell is gigantic. So it's like I said, it's great for very low to maybe medium sort of sparsity situations, but it's not good for high density situations. We'll have some small number of customers in LA, but we can't do a lot of customers in LA because the bandwidth per cell is simply not high enough. So the ground equipment just looks like like I said, I think it looks like a UFO on a stick. So at least the version 1 of the user terminal will actually have actuators on it so that it can improve the pointing accuracy. So you don't have to. It's very important that you don't need a specialist or something to install. The goal is that the instructions in the box there's just 2 instructions and they can be done in either order. Point at sky, plug in. We do it either order. Sequence doesn't matter, and it will work.
Plug and play.
Literally, but also point at sky. You can't see the satellites. If you can't see the satellites, it can't see you. I am confident that we will not cause any impact whatsoever in astronomical discoveries. 0. That's my prediction.
So
We'll take corrective action if it's above 0. I mean, sometimes people get a little excited because when the satellites are first launched, they're tumbling a little bit, so they're going to blink, and because they haven't stabilized, and they're raising their orbit, so they're lower than you'd expect, and they're kind of necessarily going to reflect in ways that is not the case when they're on orbit. But now that the satellites are on orbit, I would be impressed if somebody can actually tell me where all of them are. I've not met someone who can tell me where all of them are, not even one person. We're actually working with senior members of the science community and senior astronomers to minimize the potential for reflection of the satellites. So, we're running a bunch of experiments to, for example, just have paint the phased array antenna black instead of white, and we're working on a sunshade because there are like certain angles where if the sun gets just right, and there's not like a little sunshade, we're not talking about a lot here, then you can get a reflection. And so we're launching a sunshade, changing the color of the satellites, and otherwise minimizing the the potential for any impact. Even like aesthetically, this should not be an impact, I think.
What?
Zero.
Zero?
Zero.
Not thinking about it at all.
We need to make the thing work. It's far from obvious that, I mean, it's real important to just set the stage here for LEO communications constellations. Guess how many LEO constellations didn't go bankrupt? Zero.
Right.
Zero. Iridium's doing okay now, but the Iridium 1 went bankrupt. Orbcom went bankrupt. Globalstar bankrupt. Teledesic bankrupt. Am I leaving anyone out? There's a bunch of others that didn't get very far that also went bankrupt. Anyway, they all went bankrupt. Bankrupt.
Right. I'm not going to.
That would be a big step. The constellations?
Oh, you're launching other satellites.
Oh yeah, sure, whatever. Yeah, no problem. Of course.
Right.
Like, no problem. You want to launch Constellation on SpaceX? Sounds good to me.
So,
I mean, I think that, I think there's the world seems to have an insatiable appetite for bandwidth. So we're certainly happy to launch other satellites, and we don't think Starlink is going to destroy all other satellites or something like that. Or definitely not.
all right.
Yeah, we just want to be in the not bankrupt category. That's our goal. No, there's two major new technology programs at SpaceX. That's Starlink and Starship. Well, it's kind of has star in the name of it too much. Maybe we should just call it like link and ship. If you divide the one by the other, the stars net out, and then it's just link and ship. But that's it. As far as I know, anyway.